Listener, welcome to the living room of Family Circle. In our living room today, we have Temitayo Ogunnaike. She is the founder, Couple Connect. She is a relationship and marriage coach as well. Temitayo, welcome to our living room.
Thank you very much.
In our living room, we'll be discussing a subject that is very controversial. Talking about love and submission in marriage. So I want to know what those terms mean to you as a person.
Okay, thank you very much once again for having me. So love, love is like the most common used word, and I would say that it is it's a strong emotion.
Mm-hmm.
It's a strong emotion. It's a deep feeling of affection. And it requires, or it's what embodies love is commitment, mutual understanding, trust, and a whole lot of other values and virtues. So love is not just, it goes beyond the feelings,
Mm-hmm.
right? So yes, that's for love, while submission is yielding to the authority of another, right? So in a nutshell, that's how I'll just describe love and submission.
So love is a strong emotion, although it goes beyond the
It goes
feeling.
beyond the feeling, yes.
And then submission is yielding to authority
Yielding to the authority of another. Yeah.
So why do you think those two terms, so those two words, stir up a lot of controversy when it comes to relationships and marriage?
Okay, so like I said earlier, for example, love, many have misconstrued that word. So many just look at the feelings aspect, once the butterflies are rumbling in the tummy, the chemical reactions, oh, I love him, she loves me, and, that's it. And
But in a long relationship, it's not always there. Those butterfly feelings and, they are not always available all the time.
well, yes, they are not. However, people, because it's chemical reaction. So if you have feelings for somebody, especially romantic relationship, it's expected that at least you have some level of disruption in your in your tummy, right? So it's when you now go deeper in the relationship, getting to know the person, you now see that, okay, I'm beginning to know more, which will test those feelings that you have. So people do not focus on the commitment side of love, right? They just focus on the feelings, and I'm sure that you have heard this term where they say love enough in a relationship or in a marriage. Love in its actual term, because if you use the scriptural reference of 1 Corinthians 13, which says love is patient, love is kind, love does not keep record of wrongs and all of that, you would understand that love in its actual sense is enough. But love as a feeling is not enough. So love requires commitment. It requires understanding. It requires sacrifice. In fact, and I would dare to say that love also requires submission. So love and submission are like Siamese twins. You can't really separate them, because you can even submit without loving, but you can't love without submitting. So be it for the man or for the woman. Constantly we are submitting. If you go to the salon, you give your hair to the barber, to whoever is making your hair. You are in the airplane, you're submitted to the pilot.
Because those are the professionals.
Do you understand? So whether or not you know if they are taking you to the right direction or not, you just submit, right?
Because you think
they know better. Yes.
That's fine.
Yes. For example, a pilot, you expect that, the pilot has gone to the school, has gone through all that is required, for him to be a professional at that. So you can, more like you're surrendering your life to the pilot,
so why
right?
then is submission a challenge in marriage?
Okay, so submission is a challenge in marriages because many people do not understand what submission really is, right? So now we have many terms. We see feminism, lots of terms, to describe the female, the gender equality and all of that. But submission goes deeper, right? And I pick my reference from the scripture again, which says that, submit yourself one to another, right? I think that is Ephesians 5. It says submit yourself one to another. Then it goes further to say, wives, submit to your husband, because the husband is the head of the wife. This is not even only in the Bible, I'm sure. I think there are other faiths that reflect this principle of submission. So you're submitting to the man
As a woman.
as a woman, you're submitting to the man. But recall that it says earlier, it says submit one to another. So if, for example, your husband or your wife understands finance better, understands how to manage finances better, it's not a bad thing if the man submits himself to the wife to take charge of finances in the home. If the woman understands childcare better, it's not, so it's all about understanding, mutual understanding. So people marry wrongly. People marry people that they do not, I always say, don't marry who you do not respect. If you cannot respect him, don't even bother marrying him, because it's a whole ball game. If you were very good friends before you got married, when you get married, the friendship continues, but there is a higher level or a deeper level of reverence that you have to give your husband, as the woman. So we have men who have also misused this authority, right? We have men, because the example I'm picking from is the example that Christ has given us, who loved us and gave himself for us. So by dying, by sacrificing himself, right? So there is no love without giving. So we have many men, many husbands who do not even understand leadership. So if you don't understand leadership, if you're not even discovered yourself, you don't have any business with marriage. So that's the foundation. That's where there are even issues to start with. People have not discovered themselves. People don't know themselves. They just feel, oh, I love you. We love marriage is the next thing. Let's get married. And then when they get married, they begin to see that it's a whole lot, it's a different ball game entirely. So men have misused this position, and women also have not understood what it really means to submit to the man.
But then submission should not be demanded, should it? It should be rather earned.
Absolutely.
Kind of, right?
Mm-hmm.
For a woman, you have an obligation towards this man. And the man also has his obligation towards his wife.
Of course.
So it should be like a mutual thing. It should flow freely
naturally,
and seamlessly.
Yes, absolutely.
If all things are equal.
Yes, if all things are equal. If you married a man that has sense, and if you marry a woman that has sense, because that's just it. If all things, I like that term, if all things are equal, because things are not always equal. Many people have foundational issues as regards marriage. They just marry and then they realize that, oh, I shouldn't have even gotten married to this person. In fact, I shouldn't have gotten married yet. And then they also realize that, oh, maybe I should not have gotten married to this person. Maybe this person was just better as a friend and not as, a life partner who I would spend, the rest of my life with. So really, love is beyond the feelings. It's a decision, to be committed. It's a decision to submit, So, and that's why I always say that marriage refines people. Marriage refines us. It's God's way of saying, come, let me work on you to make you better, to make you more like me. So if you submit yourself, you surrender yourself, let your ego go down, let your pride come down from your horse, and learn and grow together with your partner, I think marriage would be better.
Marriage.
Absolutely.
Now, let's talk about what genuine love looks like. I just want you to paint a vivid picture, because you've defined, given us your own understanding of what love should be, but then paint a vivid picture in our mind's eye. What does genuine love look like?
Okay, so genuine. Before I answer that question, one of the codes or the ethics of what we do is to help people build genuinely happy marriages. There are many people who are in marriages but they are not happy, right? They're just there, okay, let me just be there, right? And it's because of what I'm about to, share. Now we have love languages, right? Gary Chapman, explains about 5 types of love languages, which is quality time, act of service, physical touch, gifts, words of affirmation. So you cannot say that you love somebody and you're not willing to sacrifice. You're not willing to help out. For example, we have I said earlier that love is characterized by mutual understanding. So a husband needs to understand the wife. What makes her tick? What makes her tick? What makes my husband tick? And then live by this understanding. So for example, women love words. Women are moved by what they hear. So you should affirm your wife. You should, and that's why God has put you in that position. You should affirm your wife. If there's something you're seeing in your wife that you do not like, then there's a responsibility. You have to groom your wife, and that's why the husband is called the bridegroom. So you're there to groom your wife, to help your wife, to connect. Women love emotional connection, right? I was sharing somewhere recently, and I was saying for men like the shoulder to shoulder friendship, while women like the face to face. So for men, you can be in the same room, right? And well, so long as I'm there, the man can be doing something else. For the man, even if we're not talking, we are together, there's no problem. But the woman would want to talk. I want you to share. Be open with me. Show me loyalty. Let me know that I'm important to you. Let me know that I'm the most important to you. I'm your one and only. And you have to verbalize this. So we have many marriages that are not utilizing these principles, such as the love languages I've mentioned. Quality time, spending, extra time with your partner, nowadays, because of so many things fighting for attention, going for what to eat and all, we downplay the place of spending quality time with our partner. So there's something in my home that I like to share whenever I'm talking about issues like this, and it is we time. So we have a time called we time, and that we time is a time where it's just for myself and my husband. We go out, sometimes we stay back, but within that time is just for us to share, for us to connect, to talk. Recently we connected, and my husband was asking me, are there any fears you've had recently? What has been stressing you of late? These are things that maybe we're rushed on a daily basis. We're going to work, come back in the evening and all that. We really don't have time. But when you create this wait time, it can be weekly, it can be monthly, it can be bi-monthly or quarterly, but just ensure that you're connecting with your partner. Also, physical touch. That's another way to show that you love your partner. Psychology says that there are many uses of hugs are so important. Everybody needs about, I can't even remember the number, I think it's over 8 hugs in a day, right? So you need hugs, and each hug signifies different things. So it's so important that there is connection in marriage. Now women are so stressed in homes. You go to work, come back, attend to the kids, cook, and then the man comes back, just sits down. So when you help in the house, remember the woman is a helper. She came to help you, right? So you must be willing to take up the responsibility to see that she's not stressed, because when she's stressed, you also cannot get the best from her. And all of these, if deployed, can enhance genuine happiness in marriage. Genuine happiness that is not pretend, that is not forced, is not it just flows naturally, because you have taken time to understand your partner, what makes him tick, what makes her tick, what she does not like, what will make her better, surprising her. There's just a lot of ways that husbands and wife can show themselves love in marriage. But this cannot happen without first discovering yourself before you even get married, because many people lose themselves in marriage because they did not even discover. And it's never too late, to rediscover who you are, because many people have also been broken, as for childhood trauma, dysfunctions, and all that. And so it's just a whole lot, that we can really cover. And so they transfer, they project, this trauma that they're experiencing to their partners, and your partner cannot heal you. So you have to, rediscover yourself, heal, and then begin to enjoy the sweetness, of marriage as God intends.
So now, talking about traumas and maybe projecting your hurts or your past pains on your partner, this brings us to couples. It's not always all lovey-dovey all the time in marriage, no matter how healthy that union is.
Absolutely.
So whenever couples feel emotionally distant, how can they walk through the seasons?
Yes, so like you rightly mentioned, there are different seasons in marriage, seasons in marriage, and the first thing is for the couple to understand that each season, if well utilized, will bring out the best in them. So understand that these different seasons they don't just happen, they are there for you to utilize effectively to bring out the best in your partner. So conflicts are inevitable. So if you manage the conflict well, it will help and enhance understanding. So that's the first thing that you need to both understand. So don't think that when conflicts happen or when you experience certain challenges, then you're done for, then everything has finished. No, that is the beginning of a deeper level. See it as a deeper level, for the both of you to attain intimacy. So that is one. Then secondly, there needs to be communication, right? Because this this is the bedrock of every relationship. It's like the oxygen of relationship. If there is no communication, that relationship dies. So you need to be able to communicate. And I always say that communication is not just talk. It's beyond talking, right? And it's a skill that should be learned by couples. There are communication courses that people can do, that couples can engage in to make their communication better. So look for a time that you click better with your partner. Look, for example, for my family, we click very well early in the morning. Very early in the morning. So you need to understand these things. There are times that your couple your spouse is stressed, is tensed, and may not even want to. So if you understand that this is our clicking time, use that time to communicate openly. So be vulnerable and share what it is that you're going through. And if you find that you're not able to still attain, that level of intimacy that you want to attain, then you can maybe involve a third party who is a professional, who can help you bring out the issues and, bring you closer to each other. So no matter the season you're in marriage, it is coming to pass. Another season will come again and you'll be all right. So, but communication is so important, to build emotional connection, right? But again, before communication, you must be emotionally fit. So if you're not emotionally fit, you will not even understand how to communicate.
Exactly.
You must be able to manage your emotions, right? Because you can be communicating and be flaring up. And,
I was going to say that communication doesn't mean confrontation.
Exactly.
Because people are confrontational.
Exactly.
And they think, I'm just bearing my mind.
Exactly.
And, there are ways to communicate.
There are ways to communicate. You need to be emotionally fit, emotionally intelligent. And this involves understanding, going back again to understanding who you married, right? Not comparing your partner with your husband with another husband. Or comparing your wife with another wife, saying, oh, this is how they do that. No, you're on different journeys. Your husband is coming from a different, background. Your wife is coming from a different. So you need to understand your partner and use that understanding to communicate and get results.
Okay, that's a good one. And you have said earlier that submission is mutual. It should be expected from both ways. Although, it is more expected from the woman. I'm a woman and I'm a stickler for submission, submitting to your husband. Of course, he's the head. There can be no two captains
exactly
in a ship.
Exactly.
Although you've also made it clear that at some point, the man as well, when you know her strengths, you can as well submit to her
Mm-hmm.
when it comes to her strength.
Mm-hmm.
Now, talking about this submission issue, how can this be practiced without you losing your voice, knowing that this other person can be unreasonable and
Mm.
weaponize whatever it is
Mm.
you believe, like if you believe in submission and
Mm.
you just want the marriage to work and you submit yourself without you losing your voice, kind of how can you practice submission without losing your identity or your voice in marriage?
Okay, so I want to start by saying that submission does not would not make you lose your voice, right? It will only make you may lose your voice if the partner you're submitting to misuses that privilege or that authority, like I mentioned earlier. So, as a woman, I need to understand that it is my obligation to submit to my husband. And this, like you said earlier, is not something that is coerced. It's not something, and when the scripture put it, it says, "Wives, submit to your husband. See that you respect your husband." There are no conditions attached, right? So you're not submitting because, oh, okay, if I submit to him, he'll submit back, or you're not, is I want to use the word is mandatory for a wife. It's just like you're driving. Two people cannot drive a vehicle. We are both partners in the relationship or in the marriage, but the man is the head of the home. So women should submit to them. And that's why I said that people marry, should I say, the wrong heads. People marry men who have not understood themselves. People marry men who do not understand leadership, who do not understand responsibility. It's such a huge task to, that singular instruction of husbands, love your wives, is massive because it compares it to, Christ who gave himself. And he says that love your wives as you love yourself. So what you will not do to yourself, you are not supposed to do to your wife.
And
If you won't shout on your... Okay.
There's this popular argument, love, submission, which comes first? Which should come first? Does he need to love me before I submit, or do I need to submit, then he showers me with the love?
Okay, so I would say that it should happen concurrently, right? It should happen at the same time. So you're loving not because you want to get back, because it is what is expected of you, right? So the moment you love, right, and the moment your partner submits, then both of you are getting what you actually need. A woman needs love to survive. A man needs respect to survive, right? And you can't withhold from your partner and expect that you would also get what you need from your partner. You can't withhold what your partner needs and expect that you get what you need. I don't know if you get what I mean. So
It's a give and take.
it is a give and take. So you can't say, "Oh, I'm not going to submit to him today." And if you don't submit to him today, he will react unlovingly. Okay, I'm not going to love her this way today. If you don't love, she will react disrespectfully. So that's why I said they're like Siamese twins. It is expected, of both parties, and it should not be conditional. It should be unconditional. And God always rewards, right? He always rewards because he sees the motive of your heart, right? And that's just how I would answer the question. So we won't say, "Oh, do me, I do you." God no go vex, 50-50. So just put in your 100% love. And then if there are issues, there are fundamental problems in the marriage, then that needs to be resolved, separately. But in the marriage, there needs to be love and submission happening, at the same time when it is demanded, when it is required, right? Yes.
Okay, so there is no wait for him to...
Don't wait.
shower me with love first.
Yes.
Before I submit to him.
Exactly.
It's a concurrent thing
Exactly.
in marriage. So what challenges can arise when there is an imbalance in these things, in love and in submission? What are the challenges couples can face in their home when the balance is not balancing?
Yeah. The balance is not balancing, yes. So if the wife is not feeling loved in the marriage, then she would withdraw. She would most likely withdraw. And women, there's a there's a quote. Is it a quote or a saying? It says that don't try women. Oh, like a woman will not talk. I mean, a woman who has been talking, right? But the moment she stops talking, then there's danger, right? Because she would withdraw and you never can tell what is on her mind, right? And so that is one thing. The woman will withdraw from the relationship. She may still be doing a normal task, but her heart is already she's already detached. And that's why we say that many people are in marriages, but they are already emotionally divorced. They are not physically divorced, they've not legalized it, but they're already emotionally divorced in the marriage. And this is one of the reasons, because there is no genuine love, there is no genuine respect. The husband feels that, oh, she doesn't respect me, she shouts, she talks to me anyhow, she doesn't listen to me, and so he feels disrespected in the home. And then he also withdraws. He also withdraws to his work or to his friends. And then the wife also maybe withdraws to her children, to the children. And then there is that disparity in the home. So that's one major challenge. There will be withdrawal. And it only takes, a few moments. Before you know it, it becomes something big, and then it leads to, the official divorce and all. So that's one. Secondly, another challenge that could arise is that the children also get affected, because they're seeing all these things. They are seeing everything that is happening in the home, and you're projecting who you. I mean, they're already seeing from you the kind of wife or the kind of husband that they would want to, or that they would spend the rest of their life with. And so it's important that we show good examples, and that's one of the reasons we're even married, to raise godly children. So we have to show good examples to our children, not out of hypocrisy, right, but from a genuine heart. And God, who sees that genuineness or genuinity of heart, will reward those couples, right? So it's important. That's another challenge. Maybe another challenge would be that the marriage would not be balanced. The marriage will not be stable, right? The marriage will not be enjoyable. They can't enjoy intimacy, and where there is chaos, where there is issues, everybody is putting bone face, and they can't enjoy that marriage, right? And what's the point of getting married if you're just there and you cannot enjoy your marriage? So yes.
Okay, lastly, what would be your advice for newlyweds about balancing love and submission in their relationship?
Yes, for newlyweds. Okay, so for newlyweds, it's easier because you're just getting married. So it's easier to build in fact, I always say it's better to even build the foundation before you get married. But let's say, okay, for newlyweds, you can build the foundation, right? And the foundation is in Christ. The foundation is Christ. There is an order in marriage, and that is God, your spouse, your children, and then every other thing. God, your spouse, and then every other thing. So I always say that as a couple, you must have a couple charter. You must have like a document, a blueprint, a template for how you want your marriage to be, a love culture, how you want your marriage to be. And let that template be what you would follow on a day-to-day basis. And then as you grow in that marriage, you can appraise that template and see where to evolve, where to change, where to adjust. So what is your template around communication? How would you communicate? What's your template around health and wellness? For example, does one person believe that, okay, we'll go to a traditionalist, another person believes that, okay, we'll go to the hospital, another person just believes, okay, just take water, sleep, and you'll be fine. What's your template around conflict resolution? What's your template around sexual intimacy? What's your template around parenting, around how we're going to raise our children? What's your template around how you're going to deal with in-laws, how you're going to deal with maybe exes, third party, so that you need to build a culture. And once you have built that foundation, it becomes the template and a manual for how you would, see your marriage in the next 10, 20, 30, and 40 years. And that template starts with your peculiar experiences, your peculiar, your unique personalities, right, in the marriage, and then of course your values and your vision. So what are your values, what are your visions? You can put all of this together, and create a template which will be the foundation for how your marriage will be in the next 10, 20, like I said earlier. So you can have make sure it's documented. I always say that marriage is serious business. People just get married, that's just, you take your business, your office work seriously. So is it married that you wake up with the same person 24/7 every day for the rest of your life that you not take seriously? Document it. In my marriage, I have journals. We have written before we got married, when we got married, and we are still updating and appraising. And so it's a template for us. Anytime anything happens, we go back to what we have written. We go back and then we check it, and then it becomes that roadmap for us to have.
Sound very academic.
It's just called structure.
Okay.
It's just called structure, honestly. Because if you do anyhow, you will see anyhow.
Really?
People just trivialize marriage and think that, okay,
marriage is hard work.
Marriage is hard work.
It's not just about.
It's not a walk in the park.
I just want to get married.
Yes.
There's a lot of work. Into it.
Yes.
For you to have a beautiful home.
Absolutely.
A successful marriage.
Absolutely.
Okay, so we'll be leaving it there today in
you.
the living room.
Thank you very much.
Wonderful talking with you. Thank you for
ma'am.
sharing your expertise with us.
You're welcome.
We've been talking with Temitayo Oguneke, founder, Couple Connect, a relationship and marriage coach. My name is Christy Okoli. Family Circle continues. Don't go away. Over now to the anchor. All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you.